Hey everybody, thank you for listening to Filling in the Gaps. Be sure to check us out on our social media pages at Filling in the Gaps. From there you can get updates on show releases and anything special we may be doing. Sit back and enjoy the show. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. My name is Rich, and I am from the heartland state of Ohio, and I'm joined, as always, by Cameron, living down in the biggest and baddest state of Texas. Over the next hour, Filling in the Gaps is going to take you through a brainstorming session where the two of us, using classic D20s and classic D20 lists, are going to pick a random theme and a random scenario and mash those two together into hopefully some idea-starting sessions that you can use during your next game night. Now, guess what? Happy teenage birthday, Filling in the Gaps. We're 13 now. We're a teenager.
Going to my room, Mom. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, seriously. We're edgy teenagers now. We had our siesta, or not siesta, that thing.
No,
you know,
that's a nap. That's a nap.
That's a nap. We need a nap because we're teenagers and we're going through growth spurts and we're moody. Now, speaking of growth spurts, my bones hurts. We'll be celebrating this again once we hit our 60th episode. And speaking of growth spurts, we have some awesome thank yous this week, which Cam, you had a really cool story about you and Molly, I think it was?
Molly, our phenomenal Twitter boy. He's our sweet little Twitter boy. One of our two Brits, and so first and foremost, Molly, thank you for the review. You actually left us a review that iTunes and their idiotic nature breaks up the reviews based off of country for some odd reason. But anyways, he says 5 stars first and foremost, and he says inspiring. I think that was directed at you, Rich. Just an FYI.
No, Ken, that's you.
As a new dungeon master, this podcast is so inspirational. Even if you don't use the ideas directly, there are so many things to riff off of to add to your own campaigns. Thanks, guys. Signed, Molly.
One I more like review, that too. By the way. Rip off, please. Rip us off, guys. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It truly is. Like, we legitimately put out an entire supplement that people can use called the Rakshasa Horror Picture Show. By the way, super wildly popular. Thanks for letting us trend on D&D.
So popular. We're 13. We care about that now.
Yeah. So. I got like 17 notifications. It was so great.
So great.
No, actually, this is the origin story for Valley Girl Wizard.
Yes.
Anyways, another review that we received is from Vacdorium, another fantastic little Brit over there that's gonna left us a review. Awesome with 2 exclamation points was the review title. 5 stars. Great ideas and great people, full of great advice. The great people he's talking about, I'm not sure who he's talking about, but I think they're mentioning us. But back to the story about Molly. Molly reached out to me today on Twitter and said, "Hey, I gotta run a game here pretty soon, and I wanted to do a little bit of a test run with you." And so I'm legitimately, running a job in Texas right now, telling guys, I need you to go. I need you to go, drill this penetration or run this wire over here or put these devices up over here. And then all the while I'm like going back to my Twitter and being like, okay, I slowly walk up to the tree and I grab the blue stone. What happens? And then I have a guy walk up and he's like, hey man, what's going on? I need you to get this taken care of. And I'm like, yeah, take care of that. And I'm like, manly. And then I'm like, okay, so then I slowly push the boat across the lake.
And I'd like to roll for love song, please. Can I roll for love song?
I do notice the statue, but the drawl of the well brings me closer to it. So where did I go from there? Yes, I told you I need that wire run right now.
Right now. Dang it. That's sweet, though. And I want to hear how the session went. That's one of the things I love hearing most back from people is like when they're running sessions. Like I know Vactorum does this a lot. I love hearing people say like, hey, this is the thing I did with my session. Because a lot of times too, like it doesn't even have to always do with the episode. I just like hearing, I don't know, I've always loved campaign diaries. So I always like hearing people's campaign diaries. Speaking of which, I have another little, not really a shout out, more of just wishing well One of a friend of mine who was in one of my first ever D&D groups. She recently started her own D&D group, and it's her first time ever DMing, and she's doing Tomb of Annihilation, which is just crazy difficult. Yeah. So, wishing you well. I'm sending you positive energies through the air right now. Ooh, and I hope that helps. It's just up there. Whenever you need it, you grab it.
You just reach up in the sky and just look at that.
Just pull it on down. Yeah,
pluck it on out.
Just like a spirit ball. Just like a spirit ball. It all comes
exactly
back to
like a spirit ball.
Z.
It always does. It always does. We can't avoid it. You know what else we can't avoid, Rich? Shall we roll?
Oh, that's a lot better.
Oh, God.
That's a lot better than what I thought. We can
it
totally.
Comes for us all,
totally
and so does rolling for the themes and scenarios.
Now, like we said earlier, rolling for themes and scenarios is how we determine what the rest of the brainstorming of this episode will be. So I think today I'm rolling for scenarios.
Yeah. That's we might be off on this week. I'm not worried about it though. That's how it's gonna be.
Cool.
And I'll be rolling for themes.
Sweet.
So let's do this thing.
Let's do it. All right. Niner.
Man, so I get a critical success and then a critical failure. This week I rolled a 1. So sad trombone.
Okay, so actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and reveal real quick what we got. So what's the natural 1?
A natural 1 is a storm.
Okay, storm. And then I got for a 9. I got accidentally shrunk, which was actually recommended to us by Dunn. Dunn, I have to say, I love you, but right now I kind of hate you because this is going to be a tricky one. There's going to be the tricky ones always create the best episodes, but man, accidentally shrunk. Okay.
Accidentally shrunk and a storm. But what are these rolls brought to you by, Rich? That's what I need to know.
Now, in the meantime, while we go ahead and take a second to collect ourselves, do you like dice? Do you like rolling them? But do you not like being that person at your table who's been using the same dice for a long time? Do you like having a specific set of dice for every character? And do your characters seem to die just about every month? Well, then guess what, guys? We've got the perfect dice company for you. It's actually our sponsor, Libris Arcana Dice. Now, if you use the promo code FITG for filling in the gaps, this is what you can get. You can get a 25% off discount on a 1-month order or on the first month of a 3-month. They also have a really cool monthly or every 3-month buy a random module from either 3.5 all the way through 5e. It could also be some really old stuff. And if you like random stories, guys, they're going to mail it to you every single month. Check them out. They're awesome. We love the fact that they've sponsored us. But speaking of them sponsoring us, let's get on back into the episode. So, Cam, let me ask you, either storm or accidentally shrunk. What's the first thing you think of that pops into your mind with either of these things?
Rick Moranis. Also, I think of the possibilities of what storms would do to insects. This is how I view this, right? So, to me, I am like breaking this story down. If I was the size of an insect, what is a rainstorm to me? Yeah. What is a mild breeze? What is those different things? And so it's all perspective, right? Because a tornado to a giant is nothing. It's nothing but a dust devil. But a tornado to an ant is the world ending. Yeah, it's the world ending. And so I view it this way. I think these set up very interesting environmental settings for your players. Like, for example, rain becomes deadly when you're shrunk because you can drown in these massive raindrops. Yeah. And so, like, earthquakes are now shattering the world around you in these shrunken worlds. So that's how I view it. Is a perspective shift really creates this level of depth to maybe some relatively mundane types of storms that can be turned into absolutely amazing things. It's just the juxtaposition there is really cool.
Yeah.
But what about you? What do you think?
Okay, so I agree. That's the first thing I saw. It's just like the giant raindrops, just like skaboo, skaboo, skaboo.
Skaboosh.
Skaboosh. But another thing I kind of thought of was kind of like, I don't know, I was thinking of the Ant-Man movies, which I still haven't seen, but I saw the previews, so I've basically seen the movie.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
Yeah, of them shrinking down to like the molecular level and seeing just all the crazy stuff that could happen there. Even like if you shrink down like crazy far to you're seeing electrons fly around and bounce off each other. But then I also thought through, it doesn't say, and this might be kind of breaking the rules a little bit, but we tend to do that anyway. It doesn't say what type of storm it is. It just says storm. This storm could be multiple different things. Like I know, for instance, in Faerun, I believe. So just in classic the D&D 5e setting on the Swords Coast, there's this thing in the history of the world called the Spell Plague. I think is what it's called. It's this
Spell Plague.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's spelled plague or spell fag or something like that, and it's the idea that when the goddess of magic, I believe, was killed, it had a huge effect on magic, and magic started acting unpredictably, and even though that might have happened a while ago, these things are just starting to happen now, like a huge kingdom of just dragonborn just showed up. It was a village that had disappeared ages ago, and now it just poof, back into the world. There's all these different people who are being affected by these realms of magic. I think that it was Waterdeep or Neverwinter had the spell plague like rip through, and all these magical things are happening. So this storm could even be something Ant-Man related, like a magical storm that's blowing through the area, and some things are getting shrunk, and some things are being like. So you might have like skyscrapers of people being shrunk down, but then you also have ants and even like parasites who are getting like blown up to like huge levels, and it's just all this madness happening all around you because there's this spell plague that's just opened up.
Okay.
And
I like that idea.
That could give you like an epicenter too, where there's like an epicenter you have to get to like shut it down. Maybe there's like a tear or something.
You got to drive with your Chevy truck into the middle of it and then release a bunch of Coke cans.
Exactly.
Like in Twister.
Dude, I have not seen that movie in so long. There's some weird nostalgia I'm having right now from like... Yeah, that's really weird.
I just didn't know because I always have to be really cautious about my movie references with you, because I feel like sometimes I put you on the spot where I'll be like, reference a movie, and then you just go, and continuing on, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't.
Did you not see Paul Blart Mall Cop 2? The Coppening? All my sequels are the innings. I don't know why I do that, but it is what it is. Okay, so I like that, because then it creates an idea of, okay, your players are going, well, what's the source? Where is this coming from? What's causing this spell plague to cause this to happen? Also, it has to happen to your players. They have to shrink because... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really just an interesting thing. Because, obviously things can be blown up, but just by shrinking themselves, I mean, an ant becomes infinitely huge. That's true. And infinitely more dangerous. And so the introduction of these animals or enemies is pretty interesting to me. How small do we shrink them is my question. Because do we shrink them like to the size of a toy, like a Woody or Buzz Lightyear or something like that from Toy Story, or do we shrink them to the size of a pea, where it's now the grass is much taller than you and all that kind of stuff? What do you feel like would serve its purpose the best? Because I thought about this idea. Say, for example, the storm plague or the spell plague rolls through, right? And you shrink them down to a relatively manageable size. Say, for example, we got a goblin standing at what are goblins' general heights? Like, they're pretty short, correct?
Yeah,
like they're
2.5 to 3.5 feet.
So we shrink our people to half the size of a goblin.
Okay.
And say, for example, there's a previously existed goblin that has dealt with these travelers before that was relatively innocuous in power level and was sort of just cast aside by your adventurers. And now he becomes this massive goblin that is almost out for revenge of sorts.
Yeah. No, I think
What do you
that
think
sounds
about that?
awesome because too it lets, like you said, lets you have this like just kind of seemingly throwaway character that the players are like, oh, like depending on who your players are, they're kind of like, just get out of here, man, like forget about that. And now it shows up again, and this thing's like a giant, it's like an ogre now. I think that's a really fun idea.
Yeah, I just thought it would be a fun way to introduce, sort of a big bad, in the sense that like they have this. It's like a newfound power for them where they haven't changed whatsoever. It's just their circumstances have, and I like the idea of that being the shift in
and even that
tide
like
for them.
that mental picture of like someone like kicking this goblin away or something like that, and now this goblin can kick people like away like easily. No, I think that's sweet. Now, another weird idea I had that could be like a potential start for this episode, maybe, it kind of triggered when you were talking about like shrinking down the toy size, specifically with like the accidentally shrunk thing. So there could be like this weird scenario of I don't know, you could have this wizard who has like a captured Medusa or something, and is like super well known for having like little tiny figurines that he sells, and maybe he's got something where like he traps people. He somehow, you would even he could in game use the spell enlarge reduce and shrink people and then just petrify them. Whether maybe actually instead of a Medusa, it might make more sense for him to have like a pet basilisk or something like that. But maybe, so he's got all of these just shrunk tiny figurines or enlarged figurines. Just this toy store of sorts, you could say. And then maybe there's a storm, some kind of storm that rolls through, and now all of a sudden you're in this dungeon that is essentially like a warehouse or a wizard's home or something like that.
Yes.
And this storm blows through, and now like boof, like that, all of these figurines are now alive, still shrunk.
Oh man.
So you've got like,
but this is, oh my god, it's like a DM. It's the DM. He is a DM that has created scenarios, and it's as if it's as if the figurines themselves came to life, but your players become the figurines as well in a way. I'm not saying that this is the story, but that's more or less what's happening here, and I love it. I love it so much. See, done. We did it, man. We did it. And I love it.
Okay, but here's this other sweet mental picture I have too, is of like there being this like shrunk red dragon or something like that is now the size of this enlarged wasp, and your players are like riding this wasp trying to fight this red dragon like while on the back of this insect, and it's just such a like, this is so crazy and wacky what's happening right now, like but I love it.
Yes. But okay, so the storm spell, or the spell plague, excuse me, that's what initiates the activation of these figurines, or these presumed, it reminds me obviously of one of our previous episodes where the guy traps people in the computer world, but it's different in the sense that these people, this guy's desires and motivations are completely different. It's purely a self-serving thing as opposed to trying to make the world a better place, type of thing. So
he's just a weird dude. He
definitely just a weird guy.
And honestly, if you don't want him to be a wizard either, like I said, the spell enlarge reduce it's a spell in D&D, and I don't think it's even a high level spell. Like it might be lower level 1 or 2 maybe, and it just lets you take a medium creature and it becomes a small creature. So we're talking like a little bit bigger than a yard gnome, but we're talking like maybe a yard statue type thing, or it can enlarge things. But you could just have that be a wand, or have that be, it doesn't even have to be this crazy wizard. It just has to be a guy who can do that and has a basilisk, like even a baby basilisk trapped in his basement. And that's just his thing. He's a guy who makes statues.
You seen Joe from down the street? Yeah, I heard about him. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of weird figurines, though. I don't know about that guy.
Exactly. And this could even be something, if you have a city you always go back to over and over again, you could, just have these these stories that rotate around each other for characters and for parties who are like keen on that kind of stuff, who like they always hear about this like statue guy, or whenever they go into the town, they always see like, oh cool, here's this other statue that this guy's worked on, or like oh you go to your favorite tavern and they've got this like statue in there now, and everyone's always talking about, oh yeah, we've got one of the most renowned sculptors of all of like Faerun or the Sword Coast. But then all of a sudden one day you show up and there's this thing that you've seen, whether it's a creature or whether it's a certain NPC or whether it's whether it's that goblin, that we were talking about later, and or they hear about like these disappearances on the road or something like that, and they start to piece together like, whoa, this whole time. So you're telling me this whole time when we're hearing about this statue guy that we thought was just this throwaway thing, this whole time this guy's kidnapping people and he's turning them into
toys?
Yeah.
Yeah, or can we sort of lean into the idea of the toy shop? I think if your players got trapped in the toy store and then spent the night there, but had to sort of traverse the different areas, maybe lead the revolution, sort of plan like a trap or an ambush on the person that has been turning them all into these creatures or these like miniatures, and then overthrowing him or getting him to revert it all or something like that. Can we lean into that? Because I sort of really like the idea, just the overall setting of that.
Well, and there's even like with toys, we could have him have some weird personalized version of like to make golems in D&D, which we've talked about this before when we were doing the book golem a little bit. There's a tome of golems that's required, where it kind of like walks you through the instructions and the ingredients and stuff like that. And that could be something he has, where he petrifies people as part of the steps. So he shrinks and then petrifies this red dragon. And then after it stays petrified for so long, he breaks the different pieces off. And then using this tome of golems, he starts walking them through and he makes it into a little mechanized like dragonoid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really love that. I love that idea. Also, like, I also like the idea. I don't know how much this breaks the rules of D&D, but from a story perspective, I like the idea of maybe some of the toys being sentient in a way. I don't know how you could go about doing that in any facet, but it just because we always think about the end, right?
Yeah.
If say for example you had as you making your way through this we don't know the end yet, but we make our way through the very end, and then you're all being brought back to regular size, or you're being sort of released back into the world and saved, and then you look down and maybe one of the toys that had helped you that you thought was a person the whole time was actually always a toy. I thought that was a pretty interesting.
Ooh, that'd be a cool twist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, continue. You were saying, dude, so I know that I got something good coming out of that.
Well, what if it's like, what if part of that Tome of Golems thing too was some kind of, gem? Well, there's a thing in the player's handbook called I think it's not animated armor, Shield Guardian, and a Shield Guardian specifically says there is an amulet that goes with this thing, and it protects whatever's wearing the amulet. And they share damage, and it knows where it's at to a certain degree. So using that and spinning it and kind of adding that to this golem thing, what if there is this, and it could be something that the toy master wears, or it could just be something that he puts into these little golems, these little toys he's making, where it's kind of like a, for lack of a better term, like to use the Star Wars, control chip, it's the control chip. It's a gem, or it's a rune or something like that. And if you can break that rune, or if you can, break that gem, I like a gem because like scratching a rune doesn't feel as cool as smashing a gem.
Correct.
Unless you're sneaking. If you're sneaking and you're scratching a rune, then that works. But but I like
sneakily scratching. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be this thing where you are like fighting these things, and as you smash a gem, like then you have this opportunity for it to still be hostile, or for it to join your side as you try to fight the toy man.
Yes, a little bit of a Gulliver's Travels kind of thing.
Exactly, dude. Okay, so what if this isn't even something? I'm sorry, I just keep talking. But what if this isn't
Go
even
for it.
something where it's like a house? So I really like the idea of this guy showing up a lot. So what if it's not like that way? You can have this like twist of like that the whole time it was this guy. What if this guy is like a traveling dude, which would make sense. He wouldn't want to be in the same place for too long. So what if he had like a traveling cart or something like that, and you know get picked up on the side of the road, or you see something happen and he abducts you. But maybe even this storm thing isn't necessarily a spell plague. If he's got a traveling cart, the storm thing once again could just be a storm. It could be a
Right.
flood that knocks his cart over, or a stream that carries his cart away, and now you're fighting on lily pads, or there's these toys that are thrown just all over the place. It could be that the cart got picked up and thrown by a storm, and now you are, maybe even with an opportunity like that, you could potentially team up with the toy man. And he's like, look, I need my help getting these toys back. We can't just let these toys run around, or else they're going to hurt people. So it's kind of like a work together, even though we don't like this guy type of thing. And that's where
I mean, he did literally just turn us into toys.
Yeah.
So, or like small versions of ourselves. And maybe that's what it was, is as he captures people on the roads and stuff like that, that's how what he does is like, actually he makes them small, takes them back, brings them to the basilisk, petrifies them, and then they're on their way to being the toy that he wants and everything. And then in that event, the storm is what upsets this sort of standard track that he's always on.
Exactly.
And that's where
that's where in that scenario it could be like, look, I will, like, he hasn't got the chance to put your gems in yet or something. So he's like, look, I will let you go. I'll turn you back if you help me. And then you have that choice of like, well, do we just help him and turn in the quest and we're done? Or are we helping him but also looking for that opportunity of like, hey, we got to get away? And then you still have those cool opportunities too, where you could be fighting, these little mechanical dragons, in blades of grass or on a lily pad.
Yes.
It could be a mechanical, like, something that's swimming in the water, but you can have these cool, like, larger than life moments.
Yeah, that's what I really like about. I wanted to explore that because when I was thinking of Accidentally Shrunk, there was like two scenarios that I really wanted to explore, which would have been a toy shop or nature itself, because nature becomes amazing when it's microscopic like that. I think about like a log being like sort of a home to so many amazing little things, or it could be
a dungeon. Like, seriously.
Yeah. It could legitimately be a dungeon. It could be a stump that's been burrowed out by termites, and the pathways that they created have now been sort of converted to this sort of dungeon lair that's ran by a little small rodent of some sorts. Well, I say small, but it's large, like that. You could have, mice, for example. I like the idea of there's I forget the game that it's called. I think I can't remember what it's called. It's like a mouse board game, but essentially it's Mice and Mystics. That's what it's called.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, so it's essentially like mice that have swords and all this. It's D&D, but mice, and then turned into a board game just to make it a little bit easier to understand. But you could run into this little population of mice, and you could sort of, it just really opens up a lot of really fun.
Even just like a snake, like just to think of all the fun things you can do with just a snake. Like, it's wrap somebody up, and like a snake in that log type scenario, you can have like somebody climb up the log and jump down and spear a sword in the head. Like, one of my favorite scenes in movies, because it just really creeped me out. I know this is a weird movie to be like, this is one of my favorite scenes, but King Kong, the newer one,
the Jack Black,
the Jack Black
King
one.
Kong?
In
I was
that
just
scene,
talking about that today, actually.
Yeah, in the scene where they're like in that canyon and there's just all those bugs. Oh, so creepy, so creepy.
Yeah.
And people have seen that. That's something too where you can invoke such imagination in your players so easily. You're not trying to tell them about this fantastical city they've never seen. You don't have to try to get them to imagine the society they've never seen. You just let them know you are in a log that is just crawling with bugs, ants, termites, roly-polies, centipedes, but now they are bigger than you. And just think of like, ugh, bleh. That,
Ew,
ew,
gross. I do not want this at all. Gross.
Grody.
Like, bugs are so sticky. Yeah, dude, I think that's cool. So let's think about this then. We've got I think the cart with the storm sort of spreading out the different toys that had not been converted yet. And he had been maybe on a long trip, had some pretty badass toys in there. Or soon to be toys, if you will.
Yep.
I think how are we going to get to an end? Like, do you go and collect the 3 toys and turn them all in, or what's sort of our end goal here with this whole thing? Because this is a crazy story. This
really
is a crazy story. It's one of our craziest.
This is, I think, one of those like things where you're like, man, one of my players can't make it, but we don't really want to like lose momentum with the rest of them. Let's just do this side quest, because it's such a. This is one of the things I love about D&D is you could be like real serious one minute, and then the other minute just do something like this, and it's just fun.
It's such a diversion from the norm.
Exactly,
but it's so interesting to me. I really find this fascinating.
End goal, though, I do think the whole. An easy way of doing it could just be like, the storm's over and this giant, wizard or sculptor or toy master or whatever, like wakes up and he picks you guys up and there could be a little bit of a fight. And then he's like, hey, look, enough. Like, I've got bigger things I'm worrying about right now than just you. Like, do you know the toys that are out there and like what they could do? Look, if you can help me find them, then I'll turn you guys back. And there's that whole like, well, do we trust this guy? Do we?
Right.
And there's maybe even that case too where like you start to find out about the whole crystals thing. Like, you could even point out like when you and your party who don't have these crystals in yet comes up to this other thing, you could specifically point out, and it has a beautiful like jewel implanted or like right in the middle of its forehead, and you say that again during the next one, really kind of saying like, and there's this beautiful jewel, or maybe he gives you like a small control rod or something like that. And then you have this moment of being like, do we use these toys that we've now collected as like a trap? Do we turn those things against him to try to, unshrink ourselves and then turn this guy in or arrest him or take him out? I don't know. What do you think?
I think that the guy has to turn on the players.
Oh, yeah.
I think that he trivializes these people regardless, and so he just says whatever it's going to take to get these people or these players to help me collect my stuff. Because I would assume, I just from a lore perspective, I feel like this guy it makes a lot of money on these, right? Because these are very rare collectible items. Like, I mean, how did he get a golden dragon and I mean, look at the detail on this dragon and it moves, and it's like, this is amazing. So this guy makes a lot of money on this. So this is just money falling off of his cart. And so he's more or less just letting his money do the job for him in a lot of ways.
Well,
and so then once, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and too, like, it'll be real stupid of him just to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll turn you guys back. Okay, see you guys later. Because, like, the party could very easily go to any king or any town and be like, this dude's straight up kidnapping people and things and, like, killing them and turning them into toys. He's no good. So there's got to be a backstab.
Right. And so he's gonna say, look, I mean, he's gonna do his best to sort of deceive the players. And I like the idea. This is so childish of me, but Toy Story, right? So there's this unlikely world where you're entered in, and you are Woody and Buzz are stuck in Sid's house, and they are freaking out. They think these toys are, awful, evil things, and then they realize that these are just tormented souls that haven't been released. And so then they all sort of band together and make a plan to finally come back to him. And when the giant crescendo comes about, that's when Woody and Buzz save the day. So that's how I view this as, he says, are you kidding me? You think I was actually going to turn you back? And then as he maybe turns one of the toys on you or something like that, their gems start to fall out of their sockets, or they start to break loose, and all of their combined powers take this guy down, or take this person down, or whomever it may be. I'd actually sort of, once we get to it, I'd like to explore what type of character this guy would be as well.
Some
what kind
other
of race,
things
stuff
too
like
that you could have show up to kind of help along with that process. So you could use a fairy dragon on page 123 of the monster manual. They are chaotic good creatures. They're very smart, have a very high intelligence, very high charisma. Some of them, especially the violet ones, are able to cast polymorph. So you could very easily just make up your own flavor of fairy dragon who could also be shrinking or have like that enlarged reduced type power. And they're tiny. So there's this idea too of this thing that's normally tiny that is now all of a sudden huge. You've got pixies too, which are once again tiny fays. And they're good as well. So they could show up. Because I like the idea too of these fae, especially like a pixie. I could see a pixie falling in love with these toys and just be like, oh, this is so right. Because they've they're just really passionate, really easily like not led astray, but enraptured with their passions. So they're like, oh, this is so cool, look at this toy. Even like being like, look, you're a little toy soldier man, like that's awesome. And it could be someone that can show up and help out the party too, even if it's like you get to choose one member of your party who is fighting the toy man and they're a life-size toy, because this pixie that you've befriended now turns you into a normal-sized, toy version of yourself. And with that, you could even have like a pixie stuck in that log, or a pixie, stuck in a tree or something like that, and you guys are fighting off these insects to protect her. I don't know, just some cool things.
Yeah. Actually, you got me sort of going with that fairy dragon, because here's how I would view that fairy dragon. A fairy dragon would be, I know that they're neutral, right? No, they're actually they're chaotic good, right? But they're chaotic would also at the end be self-serving in a lot of ways, right?
Yep.
From the morality. So it's maybe very naive of them, but it's like there's a little bit of jealousy from a fairy dragon to a regular dragon.
Yeah.
And so a fairy dragon, because dragons all speak common, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think they can.
This one says it speaks Draconic, Sylvan, or Elven. It's close enough, I guess.
Yeah.
It's our game. Who cares? This dragon speaks common. That's how I would say it. I don't care. Yeah. So I would view it this way. It views the rest of the dragons as these like magnificent things that people revere and are afraid of, and it wants to feel that same way. So it surrounds itself with things that are smaller than it to create that sense of pride and accomplishment and things like that. Then throughout that as well, because it can use those smaller level spells, it also creates these mechanoids, and the giant mechanoid, or like it is turned one of those small toys into a large human that pushes a cart back and forth. And this fairy dragon is just resting on the cart as if it was just a cat.
Are you saying the fairy dragon is the big bad?
Yes.
Dude, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Especially because a violet fairy dragon can cast polymorph once a day. So it could just take the form of a human when it enters towns. If it wanted to.
Well, okay, cool. That takes out these, because I was thinking they were just going to make one of the toys big to push the cart around. But if they can polymorph, that's even easier. But screw it. Make a chaotic good character, a bad guy.
I think that's just great. I think that's great flavor, though, is to have this, like, even if it is like there's a man sitting on the cart, it's got to have like a mechanized. Wow, I'm doing real good at talkingalized. A mechanical toy horse, or a mechanical toy rhino or something that pull. And since he can, we're giving him this ability of enlarge and reduce, so he can even take these. Oh my gosh, can you imagine him coming into town with this little tiny toy dragon, and he's just like showing it to these kids, like, oh, look at it, and they're like, whoa, that's so awesome, and then he throws it up in the air, and cast enlarge reduce, because I'm imagining he's not great at casting a lot of spells, but enlarge reduce he can cast really well, and he just throws this little dragon, or it just takes off his finger and it's fluttering like a little butterfly or moth, and then once it gets so high he casts a spell on it, and now it's just this huge dragon that like soars over the town, and then he transforms it back again. It like lands on his shoulder.
Yeah, no, I love it. I absolutely love it. And see, it's like, if in terms of the drive of this fairy dragon, it's getting that fix of gaining their like awe and their excitement as people. And so that's what the driving force behind this big bad is. You know, if we look back to Sucked Into a Computer, the driving force behind our big bad was make the world a better place by giving people an eternal, you know, make yourself better prison.
Yeah.
This one, it's vain, it's vanity, it's the idea of being loved and being wanted, and being feared, and having just somebody think something about it. And so the fairy dragon, to me, when you started talking about it, I was like, it has to be the bad guy. It's got to be the main bad. And then when it said that it's the size of a cat, I was like, perfect. It's absolutely perfect, because the size of a cat, if I shrink you down to a toy, a cat's huge.
Yeah, and it's like dragon size.
Yeah, exactly. And so it accomplishes its goal through, instead of making itself bigger to the world, it brings the world to it. And so
I like that.
I thought that was awesome. So yes, I think, and yes, hey, listeners out there, look, we just made a fairy dragon our big bad.
Yes.
But
our small big bad. What about, so another thing too, that I was thinking about earlier in the episode and completely forgot, is people who have animal companions. Oh, you could let that animal companion, a character who probably doesn't shine that much, maybe, shine so much here. Even if it's a mouse animal companion, that mouse is now a horse, dude. If it's a cat,
dude, that's amazing.
That cat is like a dragon, not a dragon, but you get what I mean. It's this huge steed you can ride. Even like if it's like, can you imagine this whole, like, they're all toys and they're walking around. They probably at this point maybe have forgotten about the animal companion, depending on how close they are to it, and it just shows up. And if it's a dog, it's just towering above them, and they're like, "Holy crap, we completely forgot
all about the
this."
theatrics. You got to be all about the theatrics for sure.
And then, like, if it's a dog, it shows up during the boss fight with this fairy dragon as well, and it's like, you know, fighting it while the players are trying to do their thing. Yeah, just a cool thing, cool little thing.
No, yeah, well, it could even be like a fall into you're falling off a branch off of a small bush, which is like a 2.5 foot fall, but for a small toy, it's, you know, a 40-foot drop.
Yeah, and
then all of a sudden, out from nowhere, a cat pounces and runs underneath and catches the person. And everybody's like, "Oh my God,
it's Whiskers!
It's Mr. Snuggles!" Yeah. Okay, Whisker.
I like your idea much
his name
better.
is Whisker Snuggles. That's his name, actually.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it's super cute. Actually, by the way, listeners out there, my cat's name is Odyssey. I know it's weird.
Ooh.
I sound like a dog guy. It's because I am. My wife has forced me to own cats, and so we got a cat, and I named him Odyssey because Homer's Epoch.
That's
is one of my
sweet
favorites.
name for a cat, though.
Yeah, we call him Audie too.
Audie,
he's my little adventurer. But yeah, he would be my pet companion for sure.
So another thing though that we haven't talked about in a while. We spent a lot of time talking on the toy and the accidentally shrunk thing. What about
the storm?
The storm, yeah, the storm.
Yeah.
Which I have an idea.
Okay, go for it.
So one thing that which I mean, all we do is throw out ideas. So I feel like this episode, more than other ones, is very like all over the place. Like we're going in a direction, but there's a lot of rabbit trails. So this could have a bunch of different, you know, variations depending on who's running it. But what if was a storm? Could be this whole idea too, and I love the mental picture I'm getting of like thunder, or like not thunder, but lightning, like striking this cart during this storm, especially like during the boss fight. Like maybe you even know the storm's like going through, and as you approach, like lightning strikes the cart just because like it's dark. There's this cart, it's on fire, this fairy dragon's just like coming, like rising up out of it as its eyes are glowing, and it's like it's just ticked. And now you're trying to fight it, and it's raining, so you've got like heat and smoke and raindrops. And you've even got like, just if it's a heavy rain, the terrain could just have like swashes of water just going through it. You could be fighting in just like a small centimeter of water that goes up to like your waist, and now there's a small twig that's like washing down towards you, and you've got everyone like, hey, everyone make a Constitution or a Dexterity saving throw against this twig or this leaf. Or even you're like riding twigs and leaves as this fairy dragon's chasing you.
Are there any creatures that affect weather in D&D?
I mean, maybe some upper level fae. There's actual spells that let you like change the weather. I'm trying to think more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy ask for me, because I'm thinking, in the line of how you could you introduce multiple weather aspects to the game, because I think that would be, since it's a storm being the theme, I think it would be fun to sort of incorporate levels of storms, different types of storms, into this level. But you could do it in ways that make it seem, like I said earlier, innocuous from a normal person's perspective. So maybe you're going across a large gravel path, right? And it's very desert-like, and it's very arid, and the sun seems to be beating down, and then some gusts start to pick up. That's your sandstorm. You know what I mean?
Ooh, yep.
And so let's say, for example, there's a light drizzle. Well, now that's your torrential rain, and you're like maybe walking through a bunch of grass blades, and so that's your sort of rainforest-esque thing. I'm thinking of other types of, I mean, you could do snow, but I mean, it's such a wild shift weather-wise that it just doesn't make any sense to me to do something like that.
No,
I view this as like a very spring style of kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a flood could happen, but it's only a puddle being created around them.
Yep.
Yeah. So that you can still land on all those cool storm elements. And I think it's almost essential
I'm picturing in my mind, it just like you seeing this very small puddle.
Yes.
And like from your side, like you could even just have this person who like walks by and doesn't even notice. And like the person's just like walking like, looks like it's starting to rain. Looks up to the sky, keeps walking. Then it zooms back on the party, and they're like, oh no! Oh, we're drowning!
That's been done in movies before, I'm pretty sure, but it's such a classic thing of just like music playing, the rain is pouring, and then it zoom out, and it's just like doop-a-doop-a-doo, just walking through my it's, and you can explain that to your players too, like it's like
I do that all the time, where I'm like, okay, hey, pause. So because who was it who said, I don't know who I heard say this, but they talked about how, like, I think it was someone on Reddit, they said part of like the Dungeon Master's role, like his job that people don't talk about a lot, is like the role of the director. So
that was us. That was me and you.
Oh yeah, nice. So sometimes
these guys were super smart. I don't know where they came from. Super good looking.
Oh, just
they said
the
something
best.
super smart.
But what I'll even do is sometimes I'll say, like, I even did it this last session, and I was trying to establish and run my first ever horror session. It was so much fun. But at one point I even said, like, okay, pause as you guys are walking across the room. And I'll even say the camera. Just because that establishes very easy, like, okay, it's not through my character's eyes. And also the camera pans back, and as it pans back and your torches flicker across the room, like, you see, like, this is what you see. Or I'll even say, like, the camera pans from like your character to your character, and you see these emotions on your faces or stuff like that, just to be like, I don't know, just because I feel like most people not think that way, but if you put it in that picture, they'll be able to pick up the pieces easy.
I think it's DM cheating. I almost call it DM cheating because I say camera pans out or camera zooms in or camera goes left, and I say that all the time.
Yep.
Because it legitimately, the moment you say that, it's like when I say
you establish
red rock.
a frame. Yeah.
Yeah, I say red rock, you think of a red rock. You can't not do that. And so when I say camera does this, you're already
there.
motioning your mind to do that. So your players are drawn in that much faster.
Yep.
You can say it in a lot of different ways, but you could say we zoom in. You don't even have to say camera, but that's how, it's a huge draw in. But yeah, I absolutely love that idea of the players having this panic moment, zoom out, and nothing, and then zoom back in, and they're freaking out. So
now, one thing too.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, going through your different weather scenario. One thing I think might help move along the story, maybe, or at least move along your ability to get to these different biomes quickly, could be. And I know I'm going back to it. Introducing either sprites, which is another creature I found, or pixies, or just this classic. You are out of like a fern gully scenario. You are a human who's now in this world of these fey creatures, and they're used to leaves being as big as they are. They're used to doing all this kind of stuff, and they could kind of be there to show you the ropes, like because these toys are destroying their homes as well. So they want them gone, and now they're like helping you hop across lily pads. They're like when the sandstorm.
Oh, you've never rode a leaf. You've never rode a leaf down from a bush. Well, let me show you.
Yes. Oh, that could be so cool. And I loved Fern Gully as a kid, dude. Fern Gully. Did you see Fern Gully when you were?
Oh yeah, Tim Curry frightened me as a giant plague monster. So,
dude. Yeah. Yes. My goodness, that thing was creepy. Just run
I don't know
Fern
what it
Gully.
is. I feel like
just
if
stop
you
listening to us right
sang,
now and just run Fern Gully.
Yeah, run. I feel like, by the way, if you actually sang, like you specifically, Rich, I feel like you could pull off a Tim Curry singing voice.
Ooh, maybe.
I don't know why.
Was he also
I'm
in All
not
Dogs Go to Heaven? Or was that somebody else I'm thinking of?
I don't know. He was in that movie with the movie, where they use the camera?
Dude, that's my favorite one. That's my favorite one.
You know what my favorite scene was? The scene where they had the acting in it.
Oh, dude, it made me feel
all
the emotions.
Especially when the actor said that line, and I was like, "What? Oh my god! I can't believe they said those script lines. That's amazing."
Also, I've literally been staring. So I'm sorry to interrupt. I've literally been staring at this page in Volo's Guide to Monsters. It's just been there. I haven't touched it. I just opened to a random page. But on this page, it's page 163 of Volo's. It's something called a Kirin, Kirins. It is a huge celestial. It's a challenge rating 12. But they are common folk consider them to be rare, and they are remote heralds of good fortune. Seeing one fly overhead is a blessing, and it happens on such a day as especially it's just an auspicious sight. Everyone loves seeing these things. They're an eternal struggle between, or they take a direct role in the eternal struggle between good and evil. I've never used these creatures before, but they are for sure objects of like people adore these things. So having a statue made of one would sell for huge, especially if it's lifelike. And at level 8, an 8th level spell they can cast once per day is Control Weather.
Rich is the best.
And it's like it looks like kind of like a Japanesey unicorn type thing.
That's so awesome. There it is, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we've got the full gamut here. We got snow for you.
Because even with
hey, everybody, come on down to Cameron's Weather Emporium. You want snow? We got what's the name of the thing again? What's the name of the thing again?
Kirin. Kirin. It's probably
we got new 2018 Kirin models here to provide you the best darn snow you ever done seen. Powdery, so powdery you might want to snort it. I'm just kidding. Don't do cocaine, kids. Anyways.
But dude, so that could even be for the end of this session. It might even just be that you guys fell off the cart, and you fell off the cart. This guy's so obsessed. This fairy dragon's so obsessed with finding this Kirin to turn into a toy that he doesn't even care. He's like, okay, whatever. I don't care about those toys anyway. I'll come back for them. They've got their control gems in, and then these pixies who love this thing and want to protect it, knowing why this thing's here. They pop your gems off, they wake you up, and now it's a quest. And you're not just like returning with these toys, you are ferngullying your way, like following this cart as the weather changes because this Kieran's trying to slow down this cart. And then maybe that explains the whole like final battle with like the lightning strike. It's a storm, it's raining, lightning strikes the cart, but the fairy dragon finally like petrifies him, and then you guys show up in that moment.
Man, this is absolutely one of the ones that I want to play so bad. This is and it's so funny.
The whole 50 minutes, I'm just looking at this like weird pony unicorn gold thing. I'm like, what the heck even is this thing? I've been staring at it.
Your roommates like walk by and they just see you staring at it and they're just like, huh, okay, well, all right.
He'd be like, nothing strange. That's the usual.
As per usual, Rich staring at pony stuff. So essentially, the not the synopsis, because I know I have the synopsis here, but I have to. But the breakdown is you are. Let's say we're in between big adventures or something like that. That this is a really cool side quest. So essentially, you're walking down a path or something like that, and this fairy dragon notices you and decides to cast Shrink something, or what is it called again?
Could be like a petrify spell.
That plus,
enlarge
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it uses that, right? And then it installs these magically imbued control gems on you, and the storm happens and you fall off the cart, and you now are being sort of approached by these fairies or pixies, or just little bitty what was that movie we talked about with Tim Curry and Ferngully people, and they all come up and say what's up, and they pluck the gems from your head and they move you along. And now you're seeking a way to protect this. They tell you the story of this person, and they tell you the story of these evil beings that have been messing up their world and all this kind of stuff. So I think this absolutely has a definitive middle, beginning, and end. I think it definitively has a lot of depth to it. It has a good amount of staying power for your players. It has a good amount of excitement and adaptability in terms of where you can take things. This is 100% easily one of my favorites.
And it's got even like some potential for it to stand on its own two legs as not a side quest. Like Kieran's, these things, the more I'm reading about them, they are sought after for their wisdom. Like they are the end of a quest themselves. This could be something your players are on their way to find this Kieran, and then this guy shows up. And he kind of like, is on his way there too. Maybe you even travel with him on your way to this Kieran, and that's how he gets you to let your guard down. This thing too can give away such good like rewards. Like it can cast True Resurrection. It can bring one of your characters back to life as a thank you. It could.
What?
Yeah. Yes. And not even like
this thing's like Alakazam as a Pokemon.
It really is. It's like Mewtwo, dude. It can like give you boons. It can like give you blessings to like your stats as like a hey, thank you, take my boon. Take this hair from my mane and wrap it around your head, and you'll get +1 intelligence or something crazy like that. But yeah,
you bald man, take my mane. It will keep your head warm. He's like, oh my god, the magic.
You do not know how much this means.
How did you know? Okay, cool. Do you want me to do my synopsis real quick? I am ready for this one.
I want to hear the synopsis.
Yes.
Because I know you're going to kill it. Like, the whole time I've been hearing this, percolate in your mind, and I'm ready for my nice warm cup of percolated cam synopsis juice.
Oh, that was horrifying.
I know. I'm sorry. But I'm ready for it.
Zoom into the forest. No, I'm just kidding. We find ourselves today standing before the toy store. Many have wondered how these toys have come about. Were they little clay dolls being molded by a perfect sculptor? Details that no other man could provide. Yet, they seemed so unique in each and every way. Where could they be coming from? Zoom out to the forest. That's a wagon wheel.
Yep, I hear it. I'm there.
And then a fairy, like sort of flutters around this cart as it's being pushed by an automated man, and it's saying, "Well, I seem to have the right one here. Yes. Oh, good. Oh, where's my key crun? Right, key crun?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The fairy checks a random book that looks oddly like a Dungeons and Dragons manual. Yes, the key crun. Where is it? I must have it. I must have my key crun.
Perfect voice.
That's yeah. I don't know why they sounded like the nerds from the 70s.
Oh, that's the toy maker though. Like that's perfect. Or was that the Pixie?
Yeah. Well, that was actually like the toy making dragon.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sort of.
He's got to sound like that kind of like nerd character.
Yeah, because like most dragons have like that. Hello, I am a dragon, and this guy's like a little small dragon. He's like, yeah.
Another thing too is to have his voice change from when you're big to when you're small.
That's so great! I love that so much because I do voices all the time for my players. That's amazing. By the way, I had another idea. I'm sorry, guys. We're just on a tangent on this episode. But you remember the thing that you said about the water puddle and the person walking by?
Yeah.
Have dramatic, if you like music in your games, have dramatic music playing. Pause that shit.
Right? Oh, yeah. Yep.
And as that person walks by, boom, right back to playing it again. Yep. I almost have this feeling that your players will go right along. But that's the synopsis. I thought, man, that I can't wait to play this one.
Dude, I know.
I cannot wait to play
so
this
much fun. This will be another sweet one. We have to add it to the list of things that we're typing because it's.
Yep.
This could be so much fun to write out.
I know, man.
I have to take a vacation and write this out.
We are like backlogged so much now.
We need to have more bad ideas so we have less to write.
Yeah, thank y'all also for being patient with us on that, because those do take a lot of time. They do take a lot of effort, but they're so rewarding. And Rakshasa Horror Picture Show was any evidence. That's absolutely the quality that you're going to get every time out of us and that stuff. So
and that's one
we're
thing.
Really thankful.
That's why we're not rushing. We don't want to put out something bad. I guess we want you guys to have something good. But guys, that's the end of our episode of Filling the Gaps. Thank you for joining us for our 13th episode birthday. We'll be looking forward to you guys' gifts. Also, as a reminder, once we get to 25 reviews, and we'll include reviews from other parts of the world as well, we will actually be picking one of our random. We will be picking at random someone to send a random set of dice to from our sponsor. Thank you guys so much at Libris Arcana. Thank you guys so much for listening. We look forward to hearing about how this session sparked some ideas. And as always, we are in need of some new themes and scenario ideas as well. So feel free to hop on the Reddit or on Instagram, on Twitter. You can find us at Filling in the Gaps and send us your ideas for what you would like to see in an episode. And keep an eye out for when we release our supplements in the future. We love you guys so much, so much. Seriously, me and Cam can't. We go on all the time about how appreciative we are that you guys tune in, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.